as the world embraces regenerative agriculture, we recognize that our agricultural practices largely comply with a new approach. We must therefore commit to apply productive technologies driven by renewable energy, such as solar-powered irrigation, along with resilient seed varieties, to increase our yields, and farming in climate-smart ways to generate soil health and additional carbon revenues. It is essential to point out the additional benefits of relocating industrial production to Africa in terms of strengthening our balance of trade, ease pressure on our currencies, and mitigating the vulnerability arising out of dependency on capricious supply chains, as is the case in our fertilizer supply. Case in point is what happened in Ukraine and Russia. We have all it takes to grow our industries and make Africa the clean, green factory of the world. My call today is for us to do so in a way that is green from the start, so as to capitalize on the exclusive competitive advantage we have. No other continent has the advantage that we have as a continent. Another major opportunity for the continent is in carbon removal using hybrid solutions, including nature-based and technological solutions. Our continent has the potential to remove over 300 million tons of CO2 per year through nature-based solutions such as landscape restoration, reforestation, and mangrove forest protection and expansion. These measures, at a carbon price of $50 per ton, could provide in excess of $15 billion in revenue, create more than 85 million jobs, and improve millions of livelihoods. Of course, I am well aware that the prices we currently get on average are $5 per ton. It is unacceptably unfair given that everywhere else prices go up to between 100 and 200 $200 per ton. That's the conversation we need to have. We need a carbon market that has integrity. And this way, we wouldn't be asking for money for debt. We wouldn't be asking for debt relief. We wouldn't be begging for grants and aid. We will be making a positive contribution to humanity and earning out of the assets of our continent. Regarding engineered solutions, Kenya startups are exploring the use of the Rift Valley geological formations for mineralized storage to replicate the success reported elsewhere in geologically comparable landscapes, such as in the Iceland. If you can generate carbon credits in Iceland, we can also generate carbon credits from the fissures in the Rift Valley. Market and market access are issues of cardinal significance as we articulate growth strategies centered on green development opportunities in our continent. We must also establish enabling policies and regulations that foster incentives to make Africa an attractive destination for the growing pool of global capital seeking climate positive opportunities. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is a major step in the right direction to the extent that it seeks to enhance trade within the continent and presents the continent as one large trading area. It is absolutely essential to set up a sound global regime of trade and market with robust incentives for low-emission production of goods and services with lower emissions. Such a framework would position Africa as the world's most competitive industrial, investment, and trade destination. I wish to direct your attention, to the European Union's carbon border adjustment mechanism and the potential negative impact it will have on African exports. I hope some of you are aware of this mechanism. Our exports are produced in older and smaller industrial facilities that are not managed to minimize emissions compared to their European counterparts. The EU's mechanism is transmitting the most emphatic demand signal and lays down a set of incentives that make low-emission production competitive. This is exactly what Africa can offer through transition. Instead of looking at it as a barrier, we should change it and make it a bridge. We have a responsibility to ensure that global carbon markets maintain the highest standards of integrity to most efficiently channel benefits and rewards to communities that do the hard work of protecting and expanding carbon sinks or innovating new ways to avoid or permanently remove greenhouse gases. Our international partners must provide market access and make the right kind of capital available to invest in our potential. On finance and capital, at the Paris Agreement, as well as earlier in Copenhagen in 2009, it had been agreed that developed countries would make available US $100 billion every year for developing countries. Disappointingly, as expected, the amount has never materialized. As a result, this figure has become increasingly contentious and divisive in every other conference. By contrast, I invite you to consider the Global Finance Alliance for Net Zero, which was launched in COP26 in Glasgow. The alliance unites nearly 600 financial institutions. And I'm told there is a good gentleman who has made a presentation to us from the European Union. The alliance unites nearly 600 financial institutions who have jointly invested US $4 billion in energy transition towards net zero, an amount that African investment opportunities we've hardly had tapped into. This variety of capital that is out in search of green investment opportunities is tapping into a rapidly growing global demand. Other regions appreciate this opportunity and are charging ahead. For example, the United States Inflation Reduction Act provides nearly $370 billion in tax incentives and government spending towards clean energy and climate technology. The EU has made US $1 trillion available for the European Green Deal over and above new trade rules under the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism that make importers pay for the embedded carbon in their products. The planet simply cannot afford to channel a paltry 0.6% of renewable investment in Africa at a time when the continent is home to over 40% of the planet's best renewable energy resources. Our statistics on sustainability, efficiency, and green compliance are outstanding. I mentioned earlier that we can create energy access for all by 2030 while reducing total emissions related to energy generation by at least 80% and emissions per megawatt hour by well over 90% with only 30% investment. However, it entails a 40% higher upfront investment than the current policy pathway. If Africa is to be the green industrial powerhouse of the world, and there is no foreseeable alternative, much more investment has to be made available collectively by humanity. This position aligns very closely with the ongoing discussion in Bridgetown Initiative, which I am sure many of you are aware, whose principles, achievements, and aspirations we must applaud. A decision in line with the Bridgetown call for action to channel a greater proportion of global finance to emerging and frontier economies and link it closely with climate action would make necessary concessional capital available to de-risk and attract private investment. This is precisely the outcome that decades of economic distress and underdevelopment of the Global South deserves and must have. Moreover, as the global financial reform movement considers debt restructuring, the sustainability of debt relief is a major shared concern. Many of the countries in debt distress benefited from debt relief according to the highly indebted poor countries in the 90s. It is clear, therefore, that debt relief did not automatically usher in significant economic growth. In fact, it didn't achieve much. To liberate economies from this vicious cycle, positive growth that is sensitive to climate and biodiversity agenda is needed. This is growth that builds on all our assets. African countries possess inherent competitive potential to emerge as clean, green, global manufacturing hubs. And that's the unique position we have. Instead of all the games being played, all we need to do, we are telling the world, we have our assets, we are willing to have a win-win engagement. We have the largest green energy potential, resources. The world has no choice. We cannot continue the fossil fuel-fired industrialization. It has to change. All we are saying is we are coming with our assets, come with investment and technology, we meet halfway, and everybody wins. That's all we are saying. We are tired of complaining. We are tired of being victims. We want to be part of the solution. Don't consign Africa to the margins of problems and being victims and managing adaptation. We have better proposals that can get all of us out of the quagmire that we are all in.